So what we've done is put together a group of people, mostly business people, who want to learn more about how they can use these tools, how they can use social media, kind of the trends that are happening out there in the world to generate more of an ROI from these activities. You know, we could all sit online and we could use Facebook and we could tweet and we could make videos and we could do all these things all day long pretty much. But our goal in this group is to talk about how do you generate ROI from these activities? What's the amount of time? What's the activities that you should be conducting? And how we've set this group up is more or less like a social media site where, you know, we've got over 1,000 members. Those people that want to participate come. Those people that want to, you know, and people ebb and flow, and our group participants are sometimes larger, sometimes smaller, and that's kind of the nature of social media. People get to choose their own terms and how they participate and how they represent themselves and what their own personal brand is. So our group follows all of that. We've got a few different sponsors that I'd like to thank right off the get-go. The first one is My Favorite Muffin. We've got muffins out there. They donate those every week. Yay! Second one's Pete's Coffee. They're right over here. And Dale Honing, videography. Dale does a very good job if you need a video about anything, you know, an introduction, hey, this is who we are, meet our team, kind of that sort of thing. Dale can take care of those. And Dale videos each one of these different sessions, edits it, and then puts it up on YouTube. So if you're ever not able to attend a session and you want to see what happened in the group or hear some of the information, you can go to YouTube and you can grab that information. Several different people work to put this event on each week. First of all, there's Patrick from the South Metro Denver Chamber. He's one of our group coordinators, and I'm going to ask him to come up here now and tell us a little bit about what's happening with the Chamber.
Thanks, John, and morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I'll start quickly, and I know I don't need to preach to any of you about the value of social media, but very briefly, a quick anecdote from last week. I was driving into the office, and I was listening to the radio, and I heard a song that I really, really enjoyed. Never heard it before. I called the radio station, and they didn't answer the phone. And I was frustrated because I wanted to find out what song this was. So as soon as I got into the office, I looked on the website, because on their website they have that great song search thing.
And well, your boss apparently lets you look on the website.
For good anecdotes.
If you want to play that game, John, it was before a board meeting. I was here at 6:45 a.m., so it was before work hours. So I searched on the website. The album hasn't been released yet, and this is linked to iTunes and Amazon somehow, so they didn't have any information for the song because the album hasn't been released yet. You can't buy it. So I went to the radio station's Facebook page, and I said, I really enjoyed this song, and it was between two other songs. Here was the time. Does anybody have any idea what song this was? And within 5 minutes, the on-air DJ had responded with the artist, the name of the song, the name of the album. So I know we talked last week about how some businesses are more responsive through social media. There's just one quick example.
So there's all kinds of things that have changed in the world in the last 10 years, and this is something that Webolutions focuses on with our clients, is really kind of working with business owners and saying, how have things changed? How have you changed the way that you're doing marketing? How have you changed the way that you communicate? How have you changed the way that you write? I was reading some websites earlier this week, and I was looking at these big paragraphs of text. And even in our conversation, everybody acknowledged in our meeting that people don't read paragraphs of text anymore. We're turning into when I was a kid, they would show Sesame Street, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who remembers that? They would show these numbers really fast and really bright and really colorful and whatever. And so whenever I think about, how people consume information today, that's probably how they do it. Nobody wants to sit and read through a lot of things. So that's why when we're looking at websites today, the things that are happening is, big images. Show me a picture of who you are. Give me some bullet points about what you do. Give me a quickie call to action. And I think probably all of us have changed the way that we consume information into something where I want to glance at it. I want to understand what it is. I want to know how to use it, and I want it to be intuitive, and I want it to be easy, and I want it to be simple. And so this is kind of something to pay attention to. And sometimes in meetings with people, we liken it to, I can have an iPhone, or I can have a BlackBerry, right? And a BlackBerry has, 50 buttons on the front of it, and you look at it, and it looks like, wow, I could do more with this. And they've given me all these options. And then you look at an iPhone, and you say, there's really nothing to it. It's a wheel and some simple things and a couple of buttons and things. And this kind of thing is winning out there. So I guess one of the trends probably that social marketing is bringing, and actually the internet and the way we consume information and the access to information and mobile phones, is keeping information very straightforward, very simple. And if I look at a web page and I don't see the keywords that I want, I move on, because there's a million more websites out there that have those things on them to pay attention to. And so, taking a look at these things is really important. As Patrick mentioned, another big trend is on demand. Here he's hearing a song on the radio. He's going onto the internet. He's saying on the Facebook page, hey, what is this song? And then the DJ who's on the air, presumably, is sitting there watching this and saying, oh, here's the song. And so on demand is pretty important, and probably one of the other things that you ought to think about in your business. And banks are doing this. Certainly banks are open on Saturday later. Doctors' offices are starting to be open on Saturday and things. And it's kind of a drag, because it would be neat to live in a 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, that's when we're open kind of a world. But maybe that sends a message to people that we're not willing to cater to them, that we're not willing to be available outside of other hours. And so maybe as you guys are going forward in this next week, take a look at the businesses that are catering more towards individuals and saying, we're around, we're catering to you, we're on demand, we're available. And these are just some of the things that I don't know how they're going to impact day-to-day business all of the time, but they're definitely things to think of as the world changes around us and we get used to being in control of everything that's happening out there. Today we've got a great topic and a great speaker here to lead our conversation, Jim Thomas with Miner and Brown. And Jim's spoken to our group on several different occasions, along with the trends and the way that the world's changing. Certainly the way information gets parsed out and gets consumed and gets utilized and gets integrated into all of our marketing plans is something that's important. And Jim's going to bring us back to reality on what you can do and can't do, or should do and shouldn't do, more so than can and can't. And so please join me in welcoming Jim Brown up here, and he's going to lead our conversation today.
Thank you, John. Thanks, guys, for having me back. John, is this your coffee? I'm not going to drink it.
Starbucks pays me to leave that
up there. Well, yeah, and Costco pays me. No. All right, we are gonna have a conversation, which is why the brown bag is up here. This works with my kids sometimes, so I'm going to bribe you. Anyone who has a comment or a question gets a Kit Kat today. So I don't want to be up here being a talking head, because social media, of all the things I do as a lawyer, and it's certainly not the biggest thing I do, is the most fun, though. Because for crying out loud, if we can't have fun while we're being social, then maybe we belong to a different species. I don't know. But there is a serious aspect to it. This group has always functioned on the level of let's be effective. And the message I have today is, yes, that is your primary concern. You don't want to be wasting your time. But there are a number of landmines out there legally that you need to be aware of. And the main problem is, just think how fast social media has exploded and how little you actually, even this group, understands about it. Well, the law moves so much slower than that. And so the things that we're talking about today are some pretty basic legal principles, and the law has not evolved to the point to say, how are we going to deal with this as a society? What are reasonable expectations between people, between employers and employees, between businesses and customers, as to it relates to the use of social media. So until that settles out in about 150 years, you know, we're going to have to kind of guess. And so I'm going to begin with there. You got some hints in the handout today. The three areas we're going to talk about. I'm going to start with privacy and confidentiality. And there's some questions in there. I'm not going to talk at all about your privacy, because God knows there's a lot of information out there about what you should be concerned about, your privacy rights as an individual user of social media. And John and his firm, I think you have a piece today about some of the things that Google is doing with their privacy rights. We're really going to be functioning on your business privacy requirements as it relates to your customers and to your employees. Those are the two main groups where you're going to run into trouble. So, privacy expectations of your customers and your social media. Any ideas where there'd be a problem? And Elizabeth is a ringer in the back. So if I run out of things, Elizabeth, I can throw a Kit Kat. Elizabeth Lewis is a great young lawyer in town, so she is an expert on this as well. So, anyone?
Giving out information to
Kit Kat.
entities about your clients and their private information, obviously, is they're probably the biggest concern.
Okay, so disclosing things about your customers that you shouldn't be. For me as a lawyer, that's landmine number one. And why I have a blog, it's called, I'll plug it, No Funny Lawyers, which comes from the saying that there are no funny lawyers, only funny people who've made career mistakes. And but I like to use I like to use stories about what really happens to my clients that maybe you might learn from. And so you'll see some value in that, and you'll understand how I work as an attorney. So maybe you might actually hire me.
You're not going to tell us who the clients are.
I'm not going to tell you who the clients are. But part of the problem is if I describe it closely enough that the client recognizes the client in the blog piece, I may not have a legal issue, but I have a customer service issue at that point. So disclosing information about your customers, your clients, be aware of what your legal obligations are. If you're a professional like me, you may have duties of confidentiality. Even if you don't have a duty of confidentiality, you've probably created a huge customer service issue if you disclose something about a customer without their permission. So that's one example. Got anyone else? Yes, sir.
Use of copyrighted material, and I think a recent example would be what happened, a very sad story about Kyle Dyer getting bitten by the dog, and somebody recorded that and put it up on YouTube. But that's Channel 9's copyrighted material. That put Channel 9, who is all about freedom of information and distributing information, into a position where they were trying to control information. But they own the copyright to that material.
Right, and actually we're going to get the copyright in the second section, so let's hang on to that one. But what about other privacy things? There was an example over here. I got the Kit Kats.
Yeah, I just wanted the candy.
I know it.
No,
Yeah, I'm going to eat them if I don't give them away. So please keep raising your hand.
No, I'm Peter Hodges, the corporate marketing manager for Belco Credit Union, and whenever we have any specific account questions from members, we immediately take it offline. Yeah, send us an email to this address with a good daytime phone number. We'll have someone follow up with you, because you don't want to be talking about your financial account problems on the interwebs. So
absolutely, that's an excellent point. And that doesn't matter what Twitter for me as an attorney is the place where I run into that the most, where someone will pose what is obviously an important question to them, and the first thing I have to do is say, you got to email me or call me, because we can't have this conversation in public. So that duty, protecting that confidential information. There was an example we were talking about as we were planning for this. You know, Google drives up and down the street taking pictures of your houses. They fly airplanes over your houses. They take pictures of your backyard. Me sunbathing in the backyard. No, you don't want to go look at that. Okay, they do that. How can they get away with that? Well, the law is there is no expectation of privacy from public spaces. So take that example, you're a landscape company, and you've just done a beautiful garden in someone's yard. Can you take a picture of the garden and put it on your website?
Front yard or backyard?
Well, let's start with the front yard. That's the easier one. Are you standing in the street or standing in the yard? If you're standing in the street, arguably, you're not violating any privacy rights. Taking a picture of that. I think your customer would probably like to know that you're going to post that, though. If you're standing in their yard taking a picture of it, you have a privacy problem. You actually probably have a trespass problem, too. But I don't think they're going to sue you for that. I think it is about customer service. But, okay, we got another question back there. Can I throw this Kit Kat at you? All right.
I worked as a photographer in the 80s in Southern California, and it used to be that the cities required you to have a permit for any building that was in the background.
Oh,
they weren't very good at enforcing it, but that's what they wanted.
And I'm not an expert on that. I doubt that that's probably the law anymore, unless if you are taking a recognizable building and using it on your website to promote your business, you probably want to get the permission of that person. But if you're just taking a picture on the street and someone's building, the chamber happens, you take a picture of your kids out here in the fountain when it's running in the summer, and the chamber's behind it, you're not going to need Brackney's permission because you know he won't give it to you anyway. Right? All right, so that's one level of privacy. But what about confidentiality relating to your employees? Let's switch gears.